Hey people, what's good? This is episode 219, maybe. That guy over there looks like Dave Carson. He's got the yellow card ready. We're going to find out why. Buckle up, people. The episode starts right now. What's up, Dave?
219, you said?
219. Can you believe
When
that?
was our first one?
You were episode 9.
That's what I thought. Episode 9. Wow.
Hey, I think I speak for both of us when I say we've come a long way, baby. Got to give the people what they want. Got to give the people what they want. Hey,
That was quite a while ago.
that was, but you know what? Guys like you just kept picking up the phone and saying yes, and I just kept the episodes going, and this is what it's turned into. I mean, for me, I just started the podcast because I wanted a place where me and my friends could just talk smack, and have a good time. I didn't think it would grow into this, and yep. And I don't. For everybody listening, this is referee Dave Carson, AVP ref. Also, he was a part-time assistant at University of New Hampshire for their men's team, as well as a slew of other things which we're going to get into. But as a side note, the only tournament I played in, Manhattan Beach, California, 2016, Dave was my referee.
Yay. And we got through it.
That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to get through it. I was 47 years old. I got, I didn't want people to give me the gladiators in the arena speech, so I figured I'd just do it once. Put up 16 against TK and Jake Rosner. That's the best I could do, and it is what it is.
Hey, we got through it. A little bit of New York came out, but not much.
It's true. You're like yellow card if you curse again.
And I was actually head coach at UNH.
Oh, that's right.
Not a part-time assistant, yeah.
That's right. So we
So
will yeah. No, we'll amend that. Excellent. So actually, dude, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the expansion of men's conferences?
um,
I'm actually while we're talking about it, while we're answering that, let me put up the actual conferences. I have a link to all of the conferences who's highlighted, and let's stay on the default browser and open and going on camera 2. Here it is.
Actually, a great idea. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, expansion is great. We just have to be able to finance that expansion.
There's that, right? And honestly, I think college football and college basketball saves all, right? I mean, it became an institute of higher learning to a revenue business. So as long as they're okay with their rising tide lifting all ships. But here it is. Here's the Big West, right? That kind of stays
Well,
the same. And to me, that's the most savage division. I don't know if you could see this, but this is the most savage division in the NCAA. This is like the last place team is better than like a lot of people's good first place teams. Look at that. Look at that.
yeah, that's top to bottom, pretty heavy.
That's basically, if you look at the last 10 years, right? Hawaii won twice, Irvine won twice, Long Beach State won twice. That's 6 of our last 10 champs. Um,
Right,
th-
right.
then of course you got the Carolinas, and they've been kind of like the stepchildren of the NCAA, but things change, right? North Greenville did beat Princeton first round of the NCAA, um, and they got a new setter, this kid named Tim Ann Dexler. He's no, sorry, not Tim. Tim's the father. Benji. It's Tim's kid. He's an undersized setter, but an incredible leaper. And now you have this new conference here. All right, Dominican University, and of course you got EIVA.
Which is another strong conference.
Yeah. Well, it's just good coaching. It's really good coaching. Like when I think of Princeton University, I think of Sam Schweitsky. I think Sam Schweitsky is one of the
Yeah,
best 3 coaches out there. He's such a brilliant mind.
very,
Um,
very good coach and a good person.
yes, one man team. Well, you know how I know him, right? He went to Hunter High School, where I was the coach.
Okay,
I was the
okay.
volleyball coach there. And he, Yeah, he won a PSALs. And I actually told him, I said 20 years. That was 1995 or something like that. I said, 20 years from now, I'm going to coach here and win one too. And that's exactly what happened. 20 years later, I won one there too. MIVA, of course. All right. Lewis University, who's D2, but also has a vacated title. Ohio State can hit or miss. Ball State's been really, really good. MPSF. Ooh, look at Menlo. Is going to join in 2025. You think of Menlo, Coach Carson, or Ref Carson. You think of Todd Hollenbeck.
Yep.
All right. Stanford University.
Interesting. Stanford and UCLA in that one.
Yeah, I got Dave Shaw coming
USC.
on. Yep. Got Dave Shaw coming on tomorrow, so we'll talk a little bit about his program when he played. Stanford University. Look at Pepperdine. Vanguard. When are they coming? 2025 as well.
25, yeah.
Now, this is the new stepchild of the NCAA.
What, the NEC?
Right. The NEC.
Yeah.
And
very
you got
interesting. Very, very eclectic.
Yes, and you got some historically black colleges here.
Yep.
It's going to be an exciting time for NCAA volleyball. Now all we got to do is just make sure we have some just really savage coaches and make sure everyone's ready to play, right? Because once you get the attention, and I speak for both of us on this, once you get the attention, you have to deliver on the product.
Right.
So
good coaching, good recruiting.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't.
No different than the women's game.
I have a question for you before, because we're going to talk about your journey and where you've been, and it's quite remarkable, and it's the reason why I wanted you on the podcast. But I have a fun volleyball question. When you think of good indoor coaches, there's a slew of them, but who's the first three coaches that come to mind?
The first three coaches?
Yeah, for indoor NCAA. It could be men's or women's.
It could be men's or women's that come to mind. I love Shondell at Purdue.
Yeah. Yep.
He's just
doing good things.
He does good things. He's been doing it for a long time. There's a bunch of new coaches now too, since I've got out of doing the high level stuff. So I go back a little bit. I was always a fan of Russ Rhodes,
right?
Even though we kind of like were two pit bulls sometimes when I was officiating and he was coaching. He could be a real pain in my butt, but a good mind, very good mind. I like Matty Furbringer also. He's an assistant with the men's.
Right. Hard worker.
I'd like to see him take that program over.
Which? Oh, the USA program.
The USA program.
Yeah.
Kevin Hambley, love him. He was always a good guy. He's at Stanford, but he was in the Big Ten. He came out of the Big Ten.
Right.
There's a ton of good coaches out there. Ton of good guys.
So for indoor coaches, I go Sam Schweitzky.
Sam's really good. I just don't get to see Sam that much.
Well, he's when he first started, he was really kind of a one-man team. I don't even think he had an assistant his first year, right? And then he finally had an assistant, and then when you win the EIVA, then all of a sudden everyone comes along, and then that crowd size gets bigger. But the way that guy's mind works, and again, it's Hunter High School. Hunter High School led the nation in cumulative SAT scores and Ivy League application acceptance. So, it's no surprise where even before he went to college, he went to Vassar. He played volleyball at Vassar College. It's no surprise that, that beautiful mind went to work. I think of John Speraw. And I was one of his biggest critics in 2016 for leaving Aaron Russell in the semifinals. I just didn't see the logic, and I understand what the future was about, but as far as the Olympics are about win now. But John Speraw, you want to talk about hardworking, you want to talk about someone who cares about the sport, you want to talk about someone who is a good person and a good coach, right? Because in this day and age, back in the day, we had to tolerate the divas and we had to tolerate the guys, but there's too many talented coaches where you don't have to put up with that. And John Speraw is like that shining example. I will go Aaron Mansfield. A lot of people don't talk about him. He's at Oklahoma State, but he was a former coach at a Loyola Marymount University indoor team, and he's done some good things. And he's really, really good at doing more with less. And if you notice, if there's programs that are coming up, he's always there. It's like everywhere you go, there he is.
Let me add another one. Charlie Sullivan.
Oh, woo! Yes, Charlie Sullivan.
Very, very, very good coach. Sharp mind.
Mm-hmm.
Been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to talk about someone that gets more out of what he has
Amen.
all the time?
Mm-hmm.
He just does.
Amen.
He's got that pipeline to Puerto Rico, Dominican, whatever.
Yep.
Also,
yeah. He also, a thing I liked about him is he always creates a competitive atmosphere, right? Like if you look at his starting six, if you see starting six on the court, you know that they won that in practice. You know, there are some people that you recruit that you feel like you have to play or this or that. Like his starting six are the people that survive the gladiator pits, if you will. I'll use that term uncomfortably. Yeah, Charlie Sullivan. He's a D3 program with a D1 mind. You know. Yeah.
And an assistant with not an assistant, but he works with the national team also. Has been for years.
Right.
On stats and assisting with data and stuff like that. So very good mind.
Right. Also keep your eye on Ian Cap. He's at Stevenson in Maryland. And Ian Cap, as far as he's concerned with me, there's probably not a human being he despises more than me, but there's not a lot of people that I respect for the work coming in and just doing really good work that travel by coastally. So keep an eye out for him. I saw him at the Pottstown Rumble, and we kind of rubbed each other the wrong way, and that is what it is. But keep an eye out for him. Stevenson, it's Division III. He's trying.
They do well.
Yeah, he's trying to do D1 things or whatever. So for beach coaches, I go John Mayer, of course.
Yeah.
He's the best coach in the NCAA. You just got to want to put in the work.
He's right at the.
Yeah.
Right at the,
Dane Blanton, who is at USC, where the pressure of win the whole thing or it's a failed season, that's an enormous amount of pressure that it takes a special kind of someone to do, and he's won 4 in a row. So, and my third one is Russell Brock from LSU, who is continuing to whether he gets good recruits or whether he's building from the ground up, is continued to dish out good product.
Yeah, I've got with John and Dane, but as far as anything else, I really don't do that much beach officiating from the college side.
No, you're on the pro side.
Yeah, so I really am not well versed in the coaches.
Right.
Except for the 2 that we have, and obviously the guys who work with the pros.
Yeah. Hey, so let's bounce to another. Wait. Since we're still on the NCAA, they instilled a double hit rule. They eliminated the double hit rule for second contact for women in the fall. And I talked to Rob Aspero about it, and I wanted to get your thoughts on when you initially heard it and how you feel now that we're neck deep, we're in the midpoint and the almost the halfway point of the NCAA season.
I understand it. It's easy to implement from the officiating side, but I'm not a fan.
Right.
I'm just not a fan.
Right.
Those of us from old school and who've grown up with this, there's an elegance to the sport. And for me, it takes away the elegance of the sport. Right.
No, I totally get that. Well, for me, at the end, the biggest problem I have is when they do these rule changes, the ones that are the least affected by it are the high level players, right? Like if we go back as far as 2001, where they made first contact for double legal, right? And we knew that wasn't going to affect people at the NCAA Division I level, and we knew that wasn't going to affect the Olympic level because the serve is so fast. A lot of people are not going to pass with their hands anyway, unless it's a short serve. Maybe you get a middle, chuck one, run a back one, whatever. But I didn't like it because it affected the lower divisions where there's a lot of referees that really didn't know the difference between what was a throw and what was a double. You got someone jumping in the air going sideways, right? Some refs call that a double. Some refs call that a throw, right? And when they did that, the other problem that they had is they got a little bit relaxed on the second hit too. So, and as far as attracting new players to play the sport, and as far as showing them that this is a sport and not a game, and it takes a discipline or a certain skill set to learn to play the sport, I thought volleyball lost a little bit of its attractiveness, and I felt that way about first hit, so I definitely felt that way about second hit. And Dave, have you noticed? Like nobody even noticed that because when you watch the Division I games, like I was calling LMU and UNLV, right? No one noticed the double because at that level, they're not gonna train their kids to set any different.
I don't think we're going to train at any level to set any different.
Right.
But it opens the door for a lot more people to use their hands that wouldn't have used them before. So it does open that door. No matter what the sport is, I like the purity of the sport. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we give them 5 steps in basketball. Oh, really? I don't agree with that either.
I mean, I do want us to attract more people to the sport. Don't get me wrong.
I think there's better ways of attracting more people to the sport and changing the rules.
100%. In fact, in 2018 and 2019, beach volleyball national events, BVNE, had tournaments for juniors called no hands call tournaments. So it was a tournament where the kids can take what they learned and not go to a tournament and abandon what they learned. Go there, have permission to chuck it, just shake your sillies out, right? And you were one of the first referees I interviewed about check with your league, and I thought having a tournament like 4 tournaments a year, no hands called, just get in there, just set as much as you can, double hit it, chuck it, and I think from 2018 to the present. I'm not saying correlation's causation here, but you have a significantly larger amount of girls using their hands than before. Can you remember 2016? It was just Larissa, right?
Well, there's a teach and learn to that, which is great, but it has to culminate somewhere. You can't just let that continue at all levels. From the beginning aspects, as you're talking about, having tournaments like that, letting them learn that's fantastic. Okay, let it go, but then bring it to an apex.
Right, no doubt. I agree. Yeah, you're right. There's got to be a how could I say, an end game to that?
Yes, there has to be.
Yeah. Have you
so again, not a fan of the change, but again, in the NCAA, it'd be interesting to see the data and the stats at the end of the season.
Right. And it's about check with your league, right? Like high school is still calling doubles, right? NCAA men's.
NFHS is not changed.
Yeah, NCAA men's, I don't know if they're implementing that for the men's as well. But I mean, the 2 objections I have is, one, they said they had a rigorous debate and discussion about this before they implemented the rule. But at the same time, when they said this rule was going to go into effect, there were so many people that heard that for the first time. So it's not like that the discussion was inclusive. You have 40 people in a room saying that they had this rigorous debate and discussion. We talked about it exhaustively, just like this whole thing, like they were just putting themselves out there before they made absolutely sure they changed this rule. And I call nonsense. I have a pulse everywhere in this country for indoor and beach volleyball. And I didn't know about it, Dave, until they said it's going into effect in the fall, Me, and I'm someone that knows everybody.
They kept it pretty quiet.
Yeah, that wasn't a rigorous discussion. That was election by selection. You know, that's ridiculous. I don't like that.
It was an inner sanctum rigorous discussion.
Ah! So, have you got a chance to watch any of the games? Any of the college games?
Yes, I have. I've been watching a few. I'll be honest. It's not easy to step down from doing those games. And part and parcel of watching them is to see what I miss.
Hmm.
And it's also to watch a lot of my compatriots still doing those matches, people that I used to work with. It's not easy. I'm going to be honest. The ego is still there to be able to do that level. But it's
100%.
time to step away. Past couple of years.
Hmm.
I mean, hell, Jason, I'm 71 years old. It's time to move on.
You got to be kidding me. Wow. I mean,
No.
look, the picture I have up, people looking at the picture that are watching the video version of this podcast, that was Manhattan Beach last year. That was Manhattan
Yeah.
Beach 2023, and you don't look a day over 50.
Well, I don't know about that. I appreciate it, but
Yeah.
I
Well.
know I understand attrition.
Mhm.
Time to move. Still doesn't mean that I don't think I can do that level.
Of course. I mean, you can until you can't, right? I think as far as you knowing yourself, the most qualified candidate of knowing yourself would be you, right? Right?
Well,
Power,
yes, but
power,
at the same
power to the patient.
at the same time, I don't want to be told it's time to go.
Right. Yeah.
I'm hoping I have a good sense of, and that's, to segue into the journey that I'm on right now.
Right.
That's part of what's going on with me right now.
Well, let me
Get back to a point where I can take 3 steps and back on the stand.
well, let me set the table for you, okay? I got a text from you before Huntington Beach, right? And I was just going to go to watch. I wasn't coaching anybody. I wasn't working. So I was just there to chill and just whatever. It was great because I could go to Huntington Beach and not do anything. And I was thinking to myself, I'm looking forward to seeing Dave. There's a couple of refs my 3 favorite refs are you, Troy Gravitt, and Matt Laveau. Those are my three guys who are approachable, who make sense of the rules, who I have just a profound respect for. So setting the table, I get a text from you, and you're saying you're not going to go out, and you were diagnosed with cancer, and there wasn't anything specific about it. But when someone says the C word, right, I'm just like, uh-oh, whoops or whatever. So the floor is yours. Walk me through when you were diagnosed and how it's affected you from this chronological order, please.
Um, that was what, May? The beginning of May was
that was May.
I was diagnosed 5 days before Huntington. I think I could have gone to Huntington, and if I didn't say anything to anybody, no one would have known. Early stages. But out of respect for, my mind was not where it should be. Let's put it that way. Out of respect for players, respect for fellow officials, and respect for the game itself, I decided it probably was in the best interest to not go. And so that was my choice. I called John and Suzanne and we talked about it. And if there was an event for me to pull out of, it was that one, because it was easier for them to fill my slot from someone out there. But that's when it happened. That was pretty surreal to be sitting in a chair 5 days before that event and to have my doctor say, this is where you're at. This is the first thing in my life that's ever happened. I've been healthy. I've taken care of myself, my diet, nutrition, working out, playing, surfing, skating, everything. A broken wrist and a broken foot. That was it. to all of a sudden get the challenge of, and I'll tell you what it was. It was diagnosed as T2 to 3, invasive and aggressive. Those are pretty strong adjectives.
Scary adjectives.
So that was my thought process of, I need to step back and take a look at what's going on. So fill my slot and let me see what my journey is.
So it was stage 4 cancer, right?
No, stage 2.
Stage 2.
Stage T2 going into 3. It was bladder cancer, and typically with bladder cancer, you usually don't get it till it's 4 because it's a very silent cancer. So we found out, I was really lucky in finding out. We believe we caught it early. To jump far ahead, my prognosis from my surgeon and oncologist last week is that they got 100% of it. So I have a good positive prognosis going forward right now.
So what you're saying is they got 100% of it eliminated, out?
That's what they're telling me.
Right.
That's what they're telling me.
Was chemotherapy involved?
Yes. I spent the summer doing chemo and steroids. And basically that was to stop or cease any spread in my body. It didn't really target the tumor itself, but my scans showed no spread in my body.
Okay.
So I was lucky from that aspect. Surgery happened on September 20th. And before that, I was in Chicago. I did go to Chicago.
Wow.
Chicago was tough.
Right.
Very tough on my body. Very tough on me. Not as an official from the aspect of officiating matches, but I've been through the whole summer of chemo. My body was weak. I haven't stepped on the sand. I was white as a ghost. It was rough. It was rough. But I managed to get through 2 days of it.
Cool.
And I don't think I did any disservice to the players, my fellow officials, or to the event.
God bless. What are as far as rehabilitative, the rehabilitative perspective is concerned? What are some of the things that you're doing to, I guess, to get stronger? Right, like chemotherapy and all of the things you went through and all the procedures do weaken your body. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, when it weakens your body, it kind of messes with your psyche and your mind, which is something if you want to explore further, I'm more than glad to. But
That's probably the hardest part, Jason, is the mental aspect.
Mm-hmm.
You've been an athlete. You've worked hard all your life to keep yourself in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a challenge mentally. My body will heal. It's going to take a long time because essentially they tore my core apart. When you get in there and operate, they removed my bladder and they removed my prostate. And you have to go through 6 layers of muscle in your core to get that. It takes a while to recover. Right now, I'm not allowed to lift anything more than 5 pounds. That's part of the recovery process. And that's for 4 to 6 weeks. Friday, I will be 3 weeks removed from my surgery. So I've got another 3 or 4 weeks to go. And then I will talk to my surgeon about, all right, what can I do? Can I start lifting again? Can I start going back to the gym? Can I start doing some core exercises? I have to be, this is the biggest word in this process, patient. I have to be patient. Mm-hmm. And if you know me, I'm not really that patient when it comes to doing that stuff.
No.
I want to get in there and get going, and I can't.
Yeah, and I guess at this point, as per their professional advice, you probably shouldn't. But I well, something I know about you is once you have permission to hit the ground running again, to go, to crawl, walk, and run again, um, I think that's going to be the most important thing in as far as your quality of life and sanctity of life is concerned.
Absolutely.
David,
Absolutely. And
yeah,
that's where the psyche comes in. I have to, and you know what? My journey and my issue and my situation is is mine, but there's so many people out there that have it worse than I do. And I have to be aware that that is what's going on, that there are people out there who are in far worse situations than I am. Mine is relatively easy to deal with, but it's mine, and I have to figure out my mental acumen for this and work it out. Because
well,
again, it's not easy to take a look in the mirror and
no.
see that your body's been definitely changed.
Well, you make me feel better. I'm dealing with this ridiculous sty in my right eye, right? Had to have this cyst or this crazy thing removed, and I'm like, how am I supposed to show my face on camera? And I'm supposed to do a podcast, and then I think of your story. I'm like, oh geez, so
Well, you could wear a patch and look fine.
I'll say I gotta get with har har
There you
har.
go.
I gotta get with har. My wife, I love har. um, yeah. So, and the reason why I brought up the mental thing is because, and the reason why I asked you to come on the podcast is because, like you said, there are people who are going through similar things. I remember Doc Vandermeer had to go through cancer too,
Absolutely. He's always been on behind.
and there, those people, and it's not like other illnesses or other ailments where there's a level of shame to it. There's no shame to it. This is just a level of uncomfortableness. And sometimes just coming out and talking about it just makes a lot of people who are going through similar things not feel like that they're alone, right? Just let them know that they got friends who love and support them. And I mean, there's people on the other side of the country that can't do a whole lot to help you with this, but you've always been one of my favorite human beings, and never mind referees. So I'm really glad you came on and just talked about that. Is there, as far as the rehab thing is concerned, let's talk about the physical. After 6 weeks, do they have a light workout thing, or just what,
I have to.
weight vest weights?
I had PT here the other day, and PT went away saying you don't need me right now because you're still very strong. One of the biggest positives for me was I wasn't deconditioned before I was deconditioned.
Mm-hmm.
So many people that go into this are not in the shape I was in.
Right.
They're already deconditioned. So my PT nurse the other day, we went through a whole regimen of testing my body and my strengths and all of that stuff. And they said, I'm out of here. You don't need me. But when you're ready and the surgeon gives the okay, then I go to outpatient PT, and I will go to them and get them to work out a regimen and a process for me to move forward of getting my body back to strength.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's where that's going to come in.
well, I knew that. I mean, you're not the average 71-year-old. I mean, and so that's when we were talking in the beginning of the podcast. A lot of it was praise, but praise comes from an honest place. So, and I'm glad that happened. And again, Doc Vandermeer went through this. Jen Ketty, if you remember Jen Ketty, she
Jay Gibb
actually,
went through it too.
yeah.
He went through his own stuff.
Who's that?
Jay, Jay Gibb went through his
Yeah.
cancer
Yeah, he did. Yep.
a couple of times and brought himself back.
Right.
All of the stuff can be done. It's
Yeah.
just
Matt
the mental
Prosser.
aspect.
Hey, how about Matt Prosser? Right.
Matt Rosser, exactly.
Yeah.
There's another one. Yeah.
That
It
guy
just
went.
comes down to that,
Hmm.
boy.
Yeah.
And I think the athletic side of those people that we've all mentioned is a huge plus. a
Right.
huge plus.
Yeah, going into it already, Ranger Tough helps.
Yeah.
Also, if you look at their methods of recovery, like they're four different stories. There are some people that, they have to take this medication for the rest of their life. Jen Ketty decided to go a different route, and healed and came back her own way. And honestly, finding out what works for you and what doesn't is very, very important, because in this day and age where power to the patient is a diminishing concept. I just want everybody to choose wisely, because at the end of the day, right, you want to take advice from great doctors. You want to take advice where this is how this is done, right? And there's also alternative forms of doing this. But at the end of the day, I think the one that has to live with the decision, the one, you know what I mean? The one that has to live with the decision
is yourself.
Yes. And for you, just stay with the doctors you trust. Stay with the surgeon you know. You know what I'm saying? Constantly. And for everyone listening, doing your own research is called reading. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying don't listen to doctors. I'm just saying that your whatever decision you make, and I'll say this again, and I'll land on that. Whatever decision you make, the person has to deal with the results of those decisions is you.
Yeah.
So
one of the best things for me is where I live.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay? I'm an hour outside of Boston.
Yep.
And
Yep.
If you want to talk about the genius of technology and medical, I couldn't be in a better place.
No, you couldn't. I mean, there's that, and there's New York, right?
Yeah.
Like what my mom would say, right? When my mom said, "We're gonna find you a nice Jewish doctor," right? It's one of those virtuous things. My mom, who's African American, my mom's black, but she says, I'm gonna find you a nice Jewish doctor." It was this inside joke where, like, some of the best doctors in New York City, right, were all part of the same like Jewish fraternity, but Boston and New York, I think, as far as the practice of medicine is going, like you said, everything's cutting edge.
I've got a great medical team,
Yeah.
Which was paramount.
Mhm.
You have to have two things. You have to have a great medical team,
Mhm.
and you have to have a great support team.
Right.
And my better half, Judith, when we were sitting there and got diagnosed this, it was on a Friday.
Mhm.
And by Monday, she had me into Mayo Clinic, Dana-Farber, Leahy, and Mass General. I mean, she was on the phone and had me appointments at all four of those. I would probably be still walking around in the weeds, but she took charge, and bang. Next thing I knew, I was at these appointments with these brilliant minds. And so, again, having a great medical team and great support, and being in as close to Boston as I am, has been such a positive experience. Even though this sucks, it's a positive experience to be able to get the help that I've got and to move forward.
Amen. Yeah. So what you're saying is you're coming back next month.
I'm doing more things right now than people want me to do, but my goal, as soon as I was diagnosed with that, is I gave myself a year. By next April, I want to be able to be in a position where you guys will see me back out there on the stand.
Nice.
And I don't want this to determine my officiating career right now. I want to get back on the stand if I'm allowed to, and then make decisions.
Right. Well, you should be allowed to. I mean, officials are always looking for people who are, at the end of the day, can you do the job or not, right? We're looking for competent officials, and we seem to have a lot of them out here. And it seems like the new wave of officials coming in are just really good. Like, I think Troy is really good. I think Renee, who was doing more media, is now refereeing. Renee's getting better at this. Matt Laveau might be leading that. He's older than them, but he might be leading that new generation of referees. But at the end of the day, they want people on the stand that they don't know are up there. There's an old saying: if they don't know you're up there, you're doing your job. So they want someone up there that can make competent calls, but at the same time not feel like they're the ones deciding who wins and loses. So when you're checking all these boxes in your head, at the end of checking all those boxes is Dave Carson or someone like you. So yeah, I don't think you have a problem coming back. People just want good refs, like Mario Trebich, right? Who referees on the East Coast. Mario Trebich is not one of the best officials. This is a guy who won 3 silvers and a gold, right? Coached in the Olympics, right? Well, they don't give gold medals to coaches, but so it's not someone that doesn't know the sport, but it's someone that, as a player and a coach, I always felt like I was arguing with that guy. And mind you, he's my mentor. He's one of my 3 mentors, as far as teaching from the neck up. So yeah. So sometimes it's not just about what you know, it's about what you do when you get up there.
It's a matter of facilitating.
Yes. It's a matter of what you do when you get up there, right? It's the reason why Magic Johnson was such a great player, but he wasn't and will never be a good coach, right? It's the reason why in the AVP scene you have people who know the game, but as far as like commentating, as far as delivery, they don't do as well as they coach or they played, right? And I think when people realize that refereeing is an occupation, it's an actual job and it's an actual career. I think that's when people have a bigger respect for what you guys do up there. It's the reason why you can do it, and there are people who's supposedly more experienced than you can't, is because they're 2 different jobs. They're 2 different. I'm a volleyball analyst, right? Right. So when someone says, "Who do you think you are?" like criticizing Sparrow, I'm like, that's my job. I'm an analyst. It's a different occupation. And and that's one of the things where I think as long as you're standing and living and breathing, you're always going to get work.
Well, we cross our fingers on that. Part of that is also myself is how much farther do I want to go?
Right.
So
yeah. Well,
like
yeah.
I said, I want that to be me deciding that and not my.
Well, you'll know for the rehab. When the rehab comes, you'll know, right? During the process of rehab, you'll know. Because that's right after surgery, no matter what kind of surgery you have, 90% of the surgery is not the surgery itself, it's the rehabilitation. So
agreed.
Right. Yeah. One must participate in one's own salvation. So you take care, you get up there and you take care of yourself, David. Take care of yourself. You got you're loved bi-coastally. So you got this, my man.
Appreciate it.
So, I got a fan question that was asked to Rob Sparrow. I want to ask you, is there a particular venue that you like going to? I mean, when you're up on the high chair, they all feel the same. When you're working, it feels like every venue is kind of the same with some exceptions. But is there a place you like visiting? Where you have to referee?
That's kind of like when I used to surf all the time. People would go, "What's the best surfing spot?"
Yeah.
You know what? The best surfing spot is the best day that you have. When the wind is right and the waves are right, they may be large, they may be small. It doesn't matter.
I mean, it matters a little bit. That's like me asking, "What's your favorite car?" I'm like, the one with 4 seats and a steering wheel, right? There's different cars.
That's where I'm going. The same thing with the officiating. It's there's some good spots. There were some spots that weren't so good. But I don't really have a favorite. It's all about the camaraderie and the spirit and who you're with and what kind of a day it is. I mean, obviously you can come out to Manhattan, and Manhattan is the Mecca.
Right.
Or you could go to the Mother Lode not necessarily to officiate, but because of the spirit
Oh,
of the mother load.
yeah. It's a
Well, you can go
people.
to Pottstown,
Yeah,
you
it's
can go to Wapaka.
amen. Preach.
They're all great spots.
Yeah.
Um, but wherever I'm having a good time and where everything is a good vibe and a good flow to it.
Right. You think about it too. A lot of these places that you mentioned, I mean, absent of the people, it's not a place I'd want to go to anyway, right? Like Pottstown,
Probably not
I'd
going
have no
out.
reason to want to go to Pottstown except for the Pottstown Rumble because what you
Right,
just said, it's not a place,
right,
it's a people.
right.
Yeah.
But at the time you go, when it's on,
Mhm.
it's magic.
Yeah.
It's
I'd
fun.
Well, I had an up and down time at Pottstown, and I had an okay time at Denver, and I had the time of my life at the Motherlode because, again, once you go in and you introduce yourself and just kind of be yourself, and people get to know you, you get to know them. It's like this huge, huge nuclear family. And Motherlode was really fun. Sam Schachter won with Jeff Samuels. He beat Lars Basie and Ian Carlson. And one of the
That's
old
this year.
yeah, the
This
older Basie, Lars. Mm.
good for Jeff because Jeff to me has always been. Uh, I like Jeff as a person.
Hmm.
I like him as a player, but I swear to God, he's almost snake bit. Trying to get to the top all the time.
Right. And Jeff
That's
is
how I've always felt.
and Jeff's not the type of person to make excuses,
Nope.
but I will definitely express something called a reality. I want everybody listening to name one partner Jeff has been on the tour with that is as good as him or better than him. I challenge anyone, with the exception of Michael Brunstein, who was, I thought, on an equal scale at the time when they played together. Name one person who was on the tour that was as good as Jeff or better. Chase Frischman, maybe. Right? Like Chris Vaughn, no. And the guy from Indiana, Kyle Ratty, he just rolled off the construction site to play the Manhattan Beach Open. Adam Roberts, one of the most respected players in the game, right? But none of these guys were better than he was, and there's only an argument for being as good as. And what does Jeff do when he had someone like Sam Schachter? He won. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did play, sorry, and he did play a tournament in Miami with Ricardo, and they won every set. So,
I just always loved him. He's one of my favorite people.
yep. Well, Jeff always has a room here. When he's training out here, he doesn't have to worry about a hotel. 9 out of 10 times he'll always have a spot here. This year he didn't, but I was in England for the Manhattan Beach Open. I wasn't even in Manhattan Beach or Hermosa Beach. But
Yeah.
I like what you said as far as good human beings are concerned. Um, other good human beings, I like Kristen Nuss. I like the way she treats everybody the same, no matter your stature. All right, you can be a millionaire or you can be a homeless person sleeping on the street. The way she looks at you, looks you in your eye, and the way she brings her level down or level up to talk to you, is the same, and that is a very, very virtuous thing. And to be so humble and to bring so much to the table is also a redeeming quality for the sport of beach volleyball.
And that's probably who she is
Yep.
and how she grew up. That's her personality.
Yeah.
That's how she was raised. At the same time, she's got a coach who's the same way.
Oh yeah, Drew, Uncle Drew.
Yeah,
Yep.
same
Uncle
way.
Drew Hamilton, people. Yep.
So they attract each other or work off and feed off of each other. What I did in Chicago, Jason, was I got pictures with everybody. I don't normally do something like that, but and that means all the Olympic players and Taryn and Kristen and Andy and Miles and Miles Partain. Let me tell you about that. Miles even texted me solely, sent me a private message about what a great representative I was for the sport and officiating. That meant a lot. Coming from a young man who's 22 years old, to
Yeah.
have that maturity.
Yeah.
But my whole point about taking the pictures was because I don't know at that time if I was going to be here next year. I didn't. So
I
I
didn't
took
either.
pictures with everybody, and I wanted to leave that for my boys. I have pictures on my wall of officiating for the past 20 some years, and I wanted to leave that for them. But my point about what I'm saying was, in talking with Kristen, in talking with Miles, and Timmy Bongwin, another great human being, just the warmth that they gave to me in doing those pictures, taking the time out of their day and actually having conversation with me was fabulous. It gets back to the point of good human beings, great athletes,
Right.
great players, but just damn good people.
Yeah. I
Good
mean,
people.
and that's really cool story about Miles Partain because he's what you would call a classic introvert, right? He doesn't look like he
Yes.
has anything to say with anyone. At the Hermosa Beach Open, there was a players' party, and some of the players come early and try to leave early. And Miles is at a table sitting by himself. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen because, he doesn't approach people, and for some reason, a lot of people didn't want to approach him. So, I actually came and said, "Hey, Miles, can I take a picture with you?" And you know me, I'm a hater from Brooklyn. I don't take pictures with anybody. I'm a purist, right? So I just took the picture just so people can see that the guy's approachable. He might
He's a
not.
really, he's a
Yeah,
very good young man.
yeah, yeah,
He's just quiet. Like you said, he's
mhm,
introverted.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. His brother is
but
too. Marcus too.
yeah, you
Hmm.
know, but Kelly and Sarah, I mean, everybody they're all good human beings.
Well, they're not all good human beings. Look, there are some people that are polite, because polite is the way to be because that's just part of the job and being professional. There are some people you can see through just the politeness and some of the phoniness, and you see like an authentic human being, which is why I brought up Kristen Nuss. Kristen Nuss she's more straight up and down than 6 o'clock. And as a New Yorker, I know real from phony, and phony. I don't mean to use phony as a bad thing because phony doesn't always mean fake. Phony means you don't want to talk to someone, but at the same time you're not being a jerk about it. You're polite. So I wanted to amend. I wanted to take what you said and I just wanted to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate politeness and I appreciate people who are real. And again, I don't like the term phony unless I really mean it. And I think the term gets a bad rep. Um, but the good people you were talking about, like Tim Baumgren, yeah, I could go with that one. I could go with him with that one. Miles Partain, yeah, Mama raised him right. I actually met his mom when he made the first main draw at 15 years old with Marcus, right?
Yeah,
That video is up on YouTube, people. His first main draw was 2017, and it was in front of the hotel on Hermosa Beach, and
yes, it
I
was.
only knew because I was working with Jeff. He played Jeff Samuel, so.
And I think I was on the court next door, if I
No.
remember correctly.
But you want to talk about a great seat for the house, like the people who had the balcony section of the
Oh,
hotel, you could literally watch, like, for drawing a pic for the fans, for the people listening to the podcast. I want you to think of the side to side view you see on TV, and the people at the beach house in Hermosa had what you would call the elegant shot. Yeah.
yeah, that's another good tournament.
Hmm.
That needs to be just right up there with Manhattan, and be had every year. It should be.
Yeah.
It is a staple of our sport.
Right. Here's another random question. As a coach, what's one fundamental that indoor players bring to the beach that translates right away?
Uh, Repeat that again, Jason.
Um, what's one fundamental, and I'm just talking solid raw fundamentals. I'm talking passing, digging, blocking, serving, hitting, and setting. There were six. I think I might have repeated one. For example, like if I'm an outside hitter, I bring first hit to the beach scene. That takes care of itself, right? So my question to you is, as a coach, what's one fundamental you see like certain players or just a certain position, whether it's a middle or an opposite or libero, that brings to the beach that translates right away?
my word would be control.
Right.
Control.
Right.
And that can be physical and it can be mental, if you understand.
I do. Yeah.
Control is essentially thought of as passing the ball and being able to control the ball, but you have to control all the physical aspects of the ball. And I want them to be in control of their faculties also. So maybe to add that word in there, control. That's what I would like to see for that translation from indoor, outdoor, outdoor, indoor.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. It does make sense. And I think, like, I was talking to Rob Aspero, and I had a little 60-second lightning round thing, and I asked Rob to give me 3 controllables, off the court things that you can control that the other team can't take away from you. And like you said, coming in mentally prepared, you know, I guess physically, like the extra reps at the gym, the other team can't make you do less of those, you know,
Right.
you know, and then you got on court controllables, like your starting position. The other team can't make you play the wrong starting position. Let's talk about serve, right? That's 100% controllable. I mean, even under the windy conditions,
Absolutely.
the other team can't make you miss. Only you can make you miss.
Yep.
In system setting, right? If you get a perfect pass, the other team can't make you set poorly. So, yeah, I totally get that. So listen, is there anything else you would like to add before we jump off this podcast? I really appreciate you staying on this long, because I know you're trying to get you know, your physical strength is also you know, your lung capacity and your ability to continue these long conversations. So is there anything you want to say to everybody out there? Do you miss us as much as we miss you?
Absolutely. That's a big part of the mental process here is I just before I jumped on the podcast, I had a friend had just come by, wanted to see me and say hello. My goal in part of this also is to thank as many of you people out there who have given me support in person over the next year or two as I can. Social media has been great to say thank you to you guys, but I want to look at you in the eye and I want to shake your hand and I want to say thank you. And that's about all I have to add is without the support of everybody, this would be very difficult. You're alone no matter what, Jason. Even though all of you are out there telling me the things that you tell me, it's still lonely. It's still lonely. So
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody out there. And do I miss everybody? It was tough. It was tough not going to Huntington. It was tough not going to Manhattan. In Chicago, it was great to see everybody. Madison McKibben, another one of those human beings who stays in touch with me, texts me, how you doing? You know, give me your updates, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's, I miss everybody, yeah.
Yeah, I like Madison McKibben. Madison McKibben, when I started this whole Tubecast thing, he was my very first interview, so he was the first one. He was the first one that picked up the phone and said yes. So, you know, very caring and compassionate about the sport. But when you hear him talk to people, he always talks to people like a human being. Like New York loved the McKibbens right away because they appreciated his realness. You know what I mean? So they in fact thought he lived in New York. They thought he was one of those hipsters that live in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, that just got on their bike and rode over the bridge to Pier 25. So, yeah. Another good example, Madison McKibben.
You know, there's a bunch of them out there. Rich Lamble, great empathy for me and good conversation with him. Impu, you know, our photographer.
Yeah, no doubt.
I miss everybody.
Yeah. Yep. Cool, man. Well, I think I speak for everybody when I say we miss you too. And I usually have this thing where I leave my podcast and say that Dave Carson might love you guys, but I don't love any of you. But I changed my mind. I love all of you guys. I love and respect everybody. So we are out of here. So for all of you at home, for all of you on your iPads, for all of you on your iPhones, for all of you on the lunch line at Starbucks, on your desktop or your laptop. For Dave Carson, I'm Jason DeBillius. This is episode 219. Can you believe that? Of the Option Podcast. Stay with me, Dave. We're going to hit my music, and we are out of here. Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.